So what's up, Rasa? So continuing, like I said on the last video that I found out I was pregnant, which would be my third pregnancy. And we got pregnant with our son, which he's our rainbow baby. Um, like I said, we got pregnant a year after the miscarriage. And of course, we were happy and everything. Um, but we were still going through our problems. We were still going through the things we were going through. We, you know, not that I thought that the pregnancy would make it better. No, mind you, I was taking birth control as well. When after my pregnancy with my daughter, I got on the injection for a year, and that didn't work out. So then I went to the pills. So when I got pregnant with the baby that we lost, the miscarriage, I was on the pill, and I forgot to take the pill. I was never, even to now, like, I'm never on schedule on taking my pills. So I had missed the same thing with when I got pregnant with our son, that I was on birth control, and I missed taking my pills, I guess, on that week. Um, so But yeah, we were happy, everything. We were still having our problems. My husband was still in his addiction. Um, I want to say maybe when we were still doing things too as well. We were still doing family things. We were still, we still had baby showers. We still had birthday parties. We still, we had our daughter's birthday parties. We had Christmas. We had everything still. We were still doing a lot of things as family. Um, and there was times that my husband wasn't so on his drugs. And like, I guess he would stop for a little bit, then do it again, and then like that. But then there came a time where he couldn't stop. And I don't know how many months old pregnant I was, but actually I want to go back. I don't remember the timeline. My husband probably remembers. I don't remember if it was around 2003, 2002, 2003. I don't remember exactly. We had got in a fight, and this is something that I regret to this day. We got into a fight. We got into a fight, and when we got into a fight, I was the type that I would throw shit, anything I could find, the bottle, a toy, a knickknack, whatever it was, I would throw at my husband. And my husband I threw him the phone. We had a cordless home phone, and I threw it at him. And I always thought that, well, my memory is that I threw the phone and it hit my daughter in front of her forehead. My husband said no, that he threw the phone back at me and it hit my daughter on the forehead. So because of our stupidity, our daughter got hit. That one time, she was in the middle of it. And I don't remember if she was 3. It had to be around 2003. She was 2, 3. I don't remember exactly. But she ended up, years later, when she was 5, she ended up having to wear glasses. And to this day, she's 20, gonna be 26, and she has to wear glasses. She really can't see without the glasses. So, but ever since then, she had a lazy eye. Now, in our family, at least for my side of the family, we have a lazy eye, especially our left eye is a lazy eye from from my mom. They always blamed it on my dad T, that it came from him, but no, it had to come from my mom. And I have a lazy eye on my left eye. And then my daughter ended up having the same issue. But with her issue is that she had to wear glasses. And we started noticing around when she was like, right probably before we put her in kindergarten. And so when she started kindergarten, she started with glasses. or right before kindergarten, I think. I'm not too sure. And but to me, even though the doctors say that had nothing to do with it, I always blame myself. To this day, I blame myself, because I feel like maybe it was genetics. Maybe it was just something that, like the doctor said, it just happens. But I don't know. I always think that the reason why she has to wear glasses is because that one day that we were fighting and we hit her, with the phone, and like I said, over stupid shit. Sometimes us adults do stupid shit and our kids pay for it. Um, my daughter, my husband always says that not to think like that it's not my fault and stuff, but I live with that today. But anyways, um, uh, going back to where I was at was, a month's pregnant now. We're still having problems. We're still dealing with this. And I kind of feel like this pregnancy I'm in it, but I'm alone. I feel like I'm kind of alone in this pregnancy. Um, and I didn't gain a lot of weight with my son. Mostly, when you guys know when you're pregnant with the girl, the hinchas. When you're pregnant with the boy, you're more pointy and more slimmer. And I think that's how it was for me. I really couldn't eat a lot, with the problems I was having. The doctors were concerned that uh, the baby wasn't gaining weight. And I think at 6 months, I was finally able to, 6 or 7 months, I was finally able to, I guess, eat more where the baby can gain the weight, because one thing you gain weight and one thing the baby's gaining weight. But the baby wasn't gaining weight because I wasn't really eating. And now, if you tell me now when I have problems or anything that food is not the issue, oh no. You know how the people say that they don't eat when they have problems? Oh, don't tell me that now, because I fucking eat all the time. But anyways, but back then, no, I guess I wasn't eating right. But anyways, I was just, I think I was more sad in this pregnancy because of all the problems we were having. Um, you want to help a person, but there's only so much you can do until that person wants its help. Um, I don't remember if we ever talked about rehab to my husband. I don't remember. I have to ask my husband, because until right now that I'm talking about, there's still a lot of things that after so many years, we really haven't sat and talked about real details like that, because I think we both don't want to go into that dark place again. But what happened was that I was just in a sad place through this pregnancy. Watching my daughter sit on the stairs, wait for her dad to come home. She would say, "Mira, nana, tengo la camisa de mi papi, de mi papá, no de papi, de mi papá." And poor thing, she would sit on the stairs and wait for her dad to come home. And that would break my heart, seeing her. And as soon as he came home, we just started, we would fight. Um, and it's so crazy because as I'm telling you this, like, even though we had our problems, even though we were arguing and fighting, we still had so much love for each other. I don't know how. I don't know. I don't know how, but we just had so much love for each other at the same time, you know? And we were still fighting for each other, both of us. Um, but like I said, that my husband tried to take his life. I don't remember the timelines. I just know the last time I think I was 6 months, when he tried the third time. Like I mentioned before, he tried to take his life a total of 3 times. April of 2004 would be the last time he would do it. And thank God it failed. But at this moment, I was 6 months, going to 7 months pregnant. This day we had an argument. I don't even know what the fight was over. Well, we know what the fight was over, but I don't know exactly how it started. I just know it turned really ugly, that he threatened us, me and his mom. I don't remember what kids. I don't think at this moment any kids were there besides my daughter. I just know that when he threatened us to do it, we were just tired of the threats and we didn't pay it no mind anymore. And he went upstairs to the room. Me and my mother-in-law were outside on the porch. All I remember about that day was holding my daughter. And my mother-in-law grabbed my hand and said, "La única cosa que podemos hacer es orar. Orar por él. Si lo va a hacer, lo va a hacer. Si no, like, he threatened us that he was going to do it. And like we said, he's going to do it. He's going to do it." And at that moment, I was so fed up with the problems that I didn't even care anymore. And we heard the noise. And mind you, we're both crying. We don't know what's happening upstairs. And we just said, it is what it is. And thank God nothing bad happened. I don't know exactly if he came downstairs. I'm not too sure if he came downstairs and left. I don't even remember all that no more. I think my mind was blank by then, that I don't even remember to this day. Only probably, maybe he remembers, I don't know. But thank God it didn't happen. And I decided to leave. And when I told you a couple videos back that we broke up twice, 2004 of April, that's when we broke up. I decided to leave. I called my mom. And mind you, my mom doesn't know anything until right now. She's going to hear it for the first time. Because me and my mom's relationship, even though I was going through this with my husband, me and my mom's relationship was off and on as well. So I would have issues with my mom as well. And I'm not ashamed to say it today, because me and her are in a better place today, and she knows that. And but thank God at the time that this happened, me and her were on good terms. And I'll always be grateful for her and my dad, G, for always being there for all of us. For me, my kids, my husband. And so I decided that I was going to leave. And that I was done. I was over it. I was, I'm 6 months going on 7 months pregnant with my second child. My mother-in-law had told me that, why am I having more kids? That's a different story for another thing. I'll share that on pregnancy video of how my mother-in-law also feels about people getting pregnant in pregnancies. But I called my mom and asked if I can go, if they can pick me up, and if I can go live with them. And to be honest, she didn't hesitate, and I'm glad, and I thank her for that. Her and my dad G came. Actually, I don't remember if she came with my dad G, but he came and picked up all my stuff. Mind you, I didn't take all the stuff. By this time, we already had been together 4.5 years. No, 5 years. Going on 5 years. We already had been together. So we had furniture. We had stuff already. But I only took what I could, which was, all my daughter's stuff, her toys, her stuff, the bassinet, things that I would need for the baby, things that we got from the baby showers, because are both baby showers. I took whatever I can take for myself and what I was going to need, and what the baby, when the baby was born, everything he was going to need. And I left. And when I left, it broke my heart, because when we first broke up, the first time, we were still, it was like a boyfriend girlfriend kind of thing, even though we already had a baby and we had a year together. It didn't feel real until this time. This time felt like I was leaving my home. And when I go to my mom's, at the time, my mom and my dad, she had, had barely a year. No, I'm lying. Never mind, scratch that. Anyways, they were fixing up a room, and for meantime, they said I can use the room. And they took me to, I think it was Target, to go get some cajones to put all my stuff in, so I can put all the, baby stuff in cajones, and my daughter's stuff and everything. And then that room was kind of empty, a little, because they were remodeling or something like that. So they let me put my stuff in there for me while to use. And then we slept in my sister's room. My sisters, they had their beds in their room and stuff, and one of their beds, I think, had like an extra bed that would come on the bottom. And I ended up sleeping with my sisters, me and my daughter. And I remember my mom asking me what happened. And I told my mom, I don't want to talk about it. And she said, okay. She respected me. She said, okay. And to this day, I've never sat and talked to my mom about anything. Me and my husband have shared testimonies here and there with them, but really not details until now. But I just didn't want to tell her my stuff. And, of course, when you tell somebody something, they are going to put what they want to put together and stuff, and it's okay. But really, no one knew the truth. Even my husband's family that were there and were seeing a lot of the stuff, they still didn't know the whole thing. And while I was at my mom's house, I actually needed to prepare myself as a woman, as a mother of two, and worry about me and my kids. I couldn't worry about him anymore. And I started, without my mom's help. I did not tell my mom my plans. My mom and dad thought I was going to stay there and live with them. But no, I called women's shelters, and I had planned that I was going to go look for help, because I felt like, even though my family was there to help me, I feel like I couldn't stay there. I didn't want to stay there. I needed to figure this out on my own, without my husband, without my family. I needed to figure it out for me. And I was calling shelters and seeing when I can go, when, what I had to do, what I had to fill out, everything I had to do. And I actually was on a waiting list for one. But then one day, I think me and my husband had separated that time. It was maybe about 2 weeks, or maybe a little bit more. I'm not too sure of the timeline, but I want to say 2 weeks we were separated. Um, but one of those days, my stomach, I was having a lot of pain in my side of my stomach. And my little sister, one of my little sisters had said, told my mom, I don't know if my mom remembers this, but my little sister told her that I was having a lot of pain in my stomach and that it could be the baby. And, so my mom told me that I needed to go to the hospital and go get checked. So at this time, my mom didn't know how to drive. I didn't know how to drive. My dad, G's the only one that drove there, and he was working. And so I decided to call my husband and tell him that I needed to go to the hospital. Now, mind you, my daughter hadn't seen her dad in days because, mind you, we moved. We left. He didn't come and look for us either. And so I ended up calling him. I don't know if it was a week after. I want to say a week after or a week and a half. I don't remember. And to take me to the hospital to go get checked. Which I think I would have had to wait. No, well, so he gets there. And the time he gets there, I don't have no more pain in my stomach. So my daughter was very, very happy to see her dad. And so I decided to tell him that I'm okay. I don't need to go to the hospital, but let's talk. And because I was still undecided about the shelters and everything, right? And he told me, no, you called me to take you to the hospital, so I'm going to take you to check the baby. We go to Martin Luther King. Baby turns out to be fine. He thinks that I just called and pretend that something was happening to the baby, but that's not true. And we get back, and of course he's high. And that's the moment that I said, okay, fuck it. I am going to a shelter next week. Because, I didn't tell him that, or my mom, or anybody, but just seeing the way he reacted, seeing that he was still high, I felt like, okay, he's not going to change. He doesn't want to change. And I need to do what's best for me and my kids. And that second day, I think the next day, I called another shelter or see the waiting list. And I think I didn't get approved for that one. And I called another one. And they told me, yes, I can go in. And I have to fill out paperwork. I have to fill out whatever I need to do. And they said, okay. And I had made my decision already that that's what I was going to do. Even though I was already due in less than 2 months or 2 months. And because I don't know if I was already 8 months. No. I think when I'm telling you this, I said 6 months, but I think I was 7 months. And so yeah, I made my decision what I was going to do. And the week that was coming up, it was the week that I was going to have to tell my mom that I was going to go to a shelter. But that shelter called that it didn't call. When I called the shelter back, I think there was no more room there. So they gave me another number for another place. But they told me that place I wouldn't be able to get in for a couple of weeks. And I kind of felt like they didn't want to accept me because I was almost due. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't remember. But I said, okay, And I still called the other place because that's what was my plans. That was my plans to do that, because in the shelters, the women's shelters, they help you in placements, they help you get a place, they help you get a job, they help you with all of that. So that's why I wanted to do this. And I thought me and my husband were only separated 2 weeks. No, it was more. It was more because my husband comes. I'm going to say what my husband said, and then I'll tell you what happened on the other side. So my husband decided to show up one day. And when he showed up, of course, my daughter is happy to see him. At this point, I am not really happy to see him because I made my decision already. And he tells me that he's been clean. I don't remember if it was days or a week he had been clean, and that he wasn't on drugs. And he told me that he was going to go to church with his cousin, and that they have a program and they can help you, and that he was going to check it out to get some help for himself. And I told him that was great, because at the end of the day, I want the best for him. He's the father of my kids, and I want the best for him, because I seen how he was hurting himself. And he said, okay. I think that day he left, and he came back again, and he asked that if I would want to acompañarlo, if I would want to go with him. And I don't know what it was. Well, I know what it was. It was the love I have for him, you know. Because mind you, as much as we're going through this, I still love him. And I told him, yeah, I'll go with you. Doesn't mean we're getting back together. And he goes, I know that. I go, it just knows that. And I think that week we ended up going and spending I don't know if it was the weekend or the week with him. But my plans were not to get back together with him, just to go and acompañarlo for him to get some help. Whatever it was, you know? And I think I'm going to stop there. I'm going to tell you what the other side of that was. So yeah, before I get to the other side of that conversation is when my husband said he left, when he left drugs was May 4th of 2004. And thank God that was the last time. My husband will, this year, 2026, he'll have 22 years clean. And that's such a blessing. And I'm so proud of him for doing it for himself. He says he didn't do it for himself. He did it for us. But I never asked my mom or my dad, how they felt that I went back with him. You know, and I'm glad that they never treated him different. They still love him, and love us and supported us, my family, his family. And throughout those years, we've had our issues with our families as well, but, that's family. We all love each other. But the other side of that conversation was my mother-in-law. One of my husband's tias had went over, and my mother-in-law had, talked to her about what was going on, what was happening with her son, what he was doing. I don't remember if she told him that he tried to take his life, but her daughter is my husband's cousin, and I was close to her as well. My husband was close with her, and we used to kick it with her and everything. And I'm not here to tell her story, but just a little rundown is she didn't have her shit together for a while, and her husband were going through shit with their, with each other and their kids. And instead of being the male that was doing the stuff, it was vice versa. It was her. And for my husband's case, it was him. So we hadn't seen her in a while, right? We hadn't seen and talked to her, kicked it with her for a while. So we really didn't know what was happening with her. Well, when my mother-in-law shared with my husband's tia what was happening, and that I left, and that I left and took our daughter and the problems we were having, she told my mother-in-law, well, remember my daughter, what she was going through. Well, they're back together. They're living a beautiful life. They started going to church together, and they're working on their relationship. That's why she hasn't been around, because she got her shit together. They're still working on it, but it was through the help of their church that they go to. And my mother-in-law goes, oh, really? And he said, yeah. She goes, what kind of church is it? And she goes, oh, it's an English church, Christian church. And I know a lot of you are not going to want to hear about religion, but just listen to the story, please, because this is what fixes our relationship. And then on another video, I'll tell you what I feel about religion in general and what I live by today. Okay, this is 2004, what I'm telling you. So my mother-in-law goes, oh, okay, I'll try. Well, have her call him to get him in it, to get him the help. And she goes, okay, I'll have him do it. And maybe she'll want, his wife will want to do it too. And she goes, well, I don't know if she would want to, because she's Catholic. And mind you, my mother-in-law wasn't really anything, but she grew, in her marriage, she was practicing Jehovah's Witness. So my husband was really anything either. He was Jehovah's Witness or Christian or Catholic. They really didn't practice that. And I would just say I was Catholic, like I said before, because that's how supposedly we grew up. So my mother-in-law said, well, let's try with him first, because I don't know if she's going to want to or something. So have her, his cousin call him and let him know. And so the cousin called him, I guess, and invited him to go to church and to see if that helps him. And that's when he asked me if I would, go with him to support him. And I told him, yeah. So I'm going to end it here. Stay tuned for the next video to see what happens after, and how we come from a dark cloud to the sunlight. Have a female weekend, Raza.